This is Think Out Loud on OPB. If you're just tuning in, we're coming to you from the Harney County Fairgrounds in Burns. We're talking about what life is like here about 2 months after the armed occupation of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge ended. Chad Cargis is one of the people in our audience, manager of the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what those 41 days were like for you?
They were exhausting. All the staff was displaced from the community. I was working out of the regional office in Portland and trying to, manage the workforce remotely and make sure the employees were safe. Took a lot of extra time and energy.
What was it like to not be there?
There was always a question in your mind as to what was really occurring. You'd see what was coming out, on the news media and those types of mechanisms. But
how much of that did you watch?
I reached a point where I kind of quit watching that. Not necessarily because I wasn't interested. It was just there was just so much of it. There's just no way to track all of it.
What was it like to have all of that happening and to not really be able to talk too much to members of the media or the public? All of you were kept pretty mum.
And there was different reasons for that, but I think lots of employees within the Fish and Wildlife Service were frustrated by not being able to tell at least our side of the story.
If you had a chance to do that, what would you have said?
I think there's a lot of good things going on in this community. I think there was an overall image of division and negative things that was presented by the media. And, it was just frustrating to me that, like the High Desert Partnership and the collaboration, that all that's been going on for, a decade plus. And that just wasn't out there to the public. And, I really would have liked to talk about that at that point.
How do you think the occupation affected those partnerships? Ones that had been, when they started, there were parties who didn't have a lot in common, didn't have a lot of mutual trust. Did any of that get frayed by the media attention and the emphasis on division?
No, I think it actually strengthened those relationships. Those collaborative conversations were occurring during the occupation. They were just in another location. And so those conversations never stopped just because of the occupation. And now that, we have attention, now we have that opportunity to tell that positive story.
What was it like when you went back to the refuge headquarters for the first time?
It's just kind of a sense of what are you going to see? And that's what it was like for me. And, different employees came back in different stages. And so it just depends on, when each individual employee, went back as to what it would be like for them.
Can you actually tell us what the High Desert Partnership is? It's something we've talked about on the show in the past, but not everybody in our listening audience may be familiar with it.
The High Desert Partnership it's a place-based grassroots group. It's a nonprofit that provides a safe, neutral forum for collaborative conversations for people to come together to figure out creative solutions to some of the issues we've been dealing with for a long time.
So, what did you find when you went back to the refuge? You were nervous about what you were going to find. What did it look like to you?
It was just a mess. It's kind of the best way to describe it. Just a lot of garbage and things were broken, that type of thing.
Jeff Rose is here as well, right next to you, Associate District Manager for the Bureau of Land Management here, the BLM. What were the 41 days like for you?
It was stressful, I think was the best way to put it, and the uncertainty of just what the next day would bring was kind of hard to just sit there and anticipate.
What were individual days like? I mean, you didn't know what to expect, but what was happening?
When we didn't, our folks stayed in town for the most part, and we were trying to conduct business from our homes. So there's a lot of phone calls to each other, trying to keep things going. We're trying to meet deadlines that we had. The BLM has things coming up in the springtime. We were trying to get folks ready to turn out, get the permittees out, get processes going, pay bills, take money in, all the things that we usually normally do. Just we tried to do them not outside the office.
Was there talk about leaving town or leaving the county?
I think there was, we gave folks the option if they felt uncomfortable that they could leave. But most of them said they wanted to stay and you know, they're part of the community, they want to stay in the community and be here.
One of the themes that I think that if you listen to the occupiers, it may have seemed like BLM land managers, that everything comes from DC, that everybody who works for the BLM is basically in Washington, DC. You've been working for the BLM here for 16 years. How would you describe your relationship to this community?
I think it's good. I think I consider myself part of the community, which helps. And being here a while, you build a lot of relationships with all kinds of people. You see them everywhere. And when new folks come in, I try to explain to them, you come to town, especially in a small town, it's BLM 24/7. You're always on, and it's great. I love my job. I'll do it all the time. If you want to talk to me at a basketball game, I'm more than happy to talk about BLM.
Does that happen?
Oh yeah.
What might someone say to you at a high school basketball game?
Well, you come in, you may have a permittee come in and talk about a reservoir that needs work, or you may have a cattle guard that needs to be fixed, or you may have maybe time to move from one pasture to the next, and they're saying, hey, I need to do this, or this needs to happen.
Has anybody in the audience done that at the supermarket or at a basketball game? Let's hear. So how would you describe your relationship with the BLM?
I'm Shauna Withy, and in my personal job, I'm a professor at Oregon State University, and I have people ask me questions all the time at the grocery store, at the Little League field. How do we do this with our 4-H project? What kind of food do you eat? We know everybody. It's not we talk about things in our lives all the time with each other at different locations. Sports are big in this community. The grocery store is a real meeting place. Big R has a nice facility to visit with your neighbor. It's a small town.
I feel like I missed a joke there. But that's fine. I'm not from here. I can't know all the in-jokes. Why was that funny, though?
Feed store.
The feed store. Okay. I still don't totally get the joke. We had
Mall.
alcohol.
Local mall.
Local mall. The feed store is a local mall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You meet your friends there.
That's where you meet your friends. You'd raised your hand earlier saying that you would talk BLM things at basketball games. Did I misunderstand you?
Yeah, I run a small ODOT grant for traffic safety for kids in Harney County age 0 to 18. And my office is actually out of the Burns Police Department. They are gracious enough to allow me to have an office for free. And so I do also see everyone around town that needs a car seat or a helmet. But I was also in the office when this was all going down, and it was very traumatic and very stressful. And I just want to say that the law enforcement in this area, they went through a incredibly hard time since early December, and they did an amazing job. Thank you.
There are a lot of nods in the audience. Jeff Rose, so you talked about how you have a 24/7 job. You're always representing the BLM wherever you are. Do you think that the occupation changed anything about the way you view your role in the community?
I don't think it changed anything. I think it helped us focus on some things. The BLM, after the occupation, when we came back to work, the employees got together and said, we want to do something. We want to re-engage with the community. We essentially were absent for 41 days. And so they got together and they started doing things. They started going out. In the past, we would go out and visit groups or talk to people about specific projects. And now we're going out and talking to them just about the BLM and about what we do and how we do things and how can they engage with us, and then also listening to what they have to say for us. So we've done some things, we're trying to do some things different. We're trying to do some things that we've done in the past, maybe doing better.
So it seems like on some level, the cries from the occupiers made a difference. Among other things, they were saying, we want the federal government to be more responsive to us. They had many other concerns, but that's one part of it. And it seems like you're saying that locally, you are more responsive now.
I think it gave us a way to tell our story. We wanted to tell our story after the occupation, and now we have the opportunity to do that. And a lot of things we do, we need input to do that. We need help to do our things, help to make decisions, and us going out and doing this, again. And folks are right. Sometimes we'd hold a meeting and it'd be 3 people. I think Steve talked about how that is. It's tough when you're doing that. And now hopefully we can get folks engaged.
Now, getting better at telling your story and communicating the BLM's point of view is different than saying that you now have a different understanding of the way you should be putting forward federal policies in terms of land management. Has that changed at all? Do you have at all a different idea of the way you should actually deal with ranchers?
I don't think it's, I don't know, I don't know, Dave, I'll have to think about that. I think we're trying to do the best job we always can do, and everything's a learning experience. Every day's a day at school, like Dave said. So I think take what we learned, apply it, get better.
I see somebody here who wants to jump in. Georgia Marshall, who has been on our show in the past. What do you want to say?
Hi, Dave, you asked the question about our relationship with the BLM here in Harney County and what it's been like. And my family has ranched here since probably the 40s, and our current ranch has been in our family for nearly 50 years. And we have several allotments that we run on. And a lot of your allotments, your permit it depends on the environment where it's located. If you've got critical issues within that allotment that might be a habitat, a year-round stream or something could be a critical issue, or endangered species or a threatened species, which can make it a little more difficult to have to do your management within. But we have always found, for us personally, we've had a very good relationship with the BLM, that we've had good people overall to work with. And we ourselves engage in our allotment plan. We don't just say, okay, we'll come in and you tell us what we're going to be doing. We come in with a plan that we ask them, would this work this year? Are we able to increase numbers, or could we get a water hole cleaned out or a well drilled? We will offer something there, and us as land users have to do that. We have to take an active part in it. We just can't go in and always be critical of every little thing. So as long as you're taking part in your allotment plan, knowing what's going on, and when you have to cut back numbers because of drought, then we take the first step and say, okay, we realize this is a brittle environment, we realize this is going to be an issue this year, so we will cut back some numbers, or we will rest allotments, and we work a lot with how to make it work together. We don't just wait for them to come to us. So you have to be an active member of that plan. And we're thankful too for all the expertise that's there, that when we have questions, we have ecologists we can go to, we have archaeologists we can go to, we have fire experts we can go to that can help us mitigate problems coming up, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Sir, another comment. What's your name?
Travis Williams, 5th generation rancher in the county. Talk about relationships with the BLM. we have a great relationship with the BLM, always have. Yeah, there's differences, but we come together. You don't stay on the same place for 5 generations and make it work. And during the occupation, I guess I went on the far side and I understood what Ammon was saying and bit into it and understood what he was trying to say. And since then, I've educated myself, which takes twice as long as most people because I'm not real good at that. But a lot of driving into town. I live 45 miles away from here. But what I found, I've seen collaboration go on for generations through my dad and grandfather. And all you're getting is the crumbs off the table. You're not meeting real good. I'd like to see more of a coordination where both parties are meeting on the same plane. And I think that's what Ammon was trying to get to. So I believe there's strength in that. And I really think that we're in a position as a community and as a county and all 11 Western states are going through this, the same thing right now. I mean, this is a big deal. And since we've seen the flames die down, we're able to kind of see through the smoke, and I see some great things going to happen.
What did you learn? You said that you went through a period where you really learned things. What is that?
Like through now there's so much of it I really can't pinpoint. I didn't bring any notes or anything.
That's fine.
But like with coordination, as a producer, it's frustrating to see Honda or some other groups come in and jump on board on trying to make the biggest wilderness area out of the Hawaii Canyon lands, 1.6 million acres, whatever it is. And the BLM's not right behind you as a producer. I know they have rules and we're willing to work through that and eventually get through that. But it's very frustrating. So I think, if there's some way through coordination, not collaboration, because they are different. Look it up in the dictionary and get online and you'll see it. So I really think there needs to be more of a push that the ranchers do have rights out there on that land. They're just not permits, they're allotments.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, what's your name?
Mark Owens. I'd like to change the conversation to the future of Harney County. We've all seen what's happened in the past. We can take that and change it to the future. I think Harney County has great opportunity, but with great opportunity comes great challenges. And one of the great challenges that we're going to face as a community is how to figure out how to get more local control over our ground and our natural resources. Instead of all the decisions being made in Washington, D.C., how we can enable our local BLM, local Forest Service, and local ranchers to have a lot more control on what happens with the drought, with being proactive on trying to utilize our natural resources. I think it'll be a great challenge, but with that challenge, we can have great opportunity.
So what's the model that you see? I mean, describe the Harney County of the future that you want.
The Harney County of the future I want, the creation of a new dollar through the better utilization of natural resource, through the betterment of multi-use public lands. It has to be public lands, but I think we need more of a local input on how those lands are managed.
What about other kinds of economic development that's not tied only, it seems like you're focusing specifically there on land use questions and the vast tracts of federally managed land here, but what about other ideas for economic opportunities in Harney County?
Let me take that one.
Sure, and then we can hear from other people as well.
The better off, I've always had the philosophy, the better off my neighbor does, the better off I do. I'm very pro-agriculture, but I'm very pro what happens in town. We have to have a balance in our community with creating jobs in the agriculture sector and creating jobs in town and business. We have to have family wage jobs so we can provide economic growth for both sectors.
How hopeful are folks in this room about the things you just heard about, whether we're talking about getting more local control over federal lands or a broader vision of economic development here? How hopeful are you about the future of Harney County? Let's, well, you've just spoken. Let's get a new voice. We have a woman on the corner. We'll get a mic to you. What's your name?
Liz Appleman. I've lived here about 60 years, and I'm a retired BLM employee, so I've seen both sides of it. I think there's a lot of things the future is for this area, but it's not going to be based on production, near as I can figure. It's going to be more like a internet type of program. I think we need to use our resources better, and I think we need to talk, as everybody said. But in the years I've been here, we've seen a lot of things go by the wayside simply because those things are no longer available, and that's countrywide, that's not just here. And I think this county will survive and do well. It could do better, of course, economically, but I think once everybody starts talking again, and I have to admit, when this first started on Facebook, I was angry. I was very angry. And as time has gone by, I've tried to take a different tact, and rather than react to everything, just act on what I feel, rather than trying to go with what everybody else thinks or doesn't think.
When you say when this all started on Facebook, do you mean the occupation months ago?
The occupation, yeah. I was angry because somebody came in here and says, everybody here is corrupt, and, well, I don't see anybody in their hometown talking to their officials. You know, the corruption isn't just here if it's here, and I don't think it is. But why should someone else come into my town and tell me that I don't know my rights, and tell me that I need to vote for somebody they want me to vote for and vote out somebody that I like? So yeah, I was angry.
Now, if I understand you correctly, you said that you see the future of Harney County's prosperity being not in increased cattle production, not in ranching, but in something related to the internet. Did I hear you correctly?
Kind of, yeah. I just don't think there's land around here that's going to support a whole lot more ranches, and there aren't things available for that. I would love to see it, but as the way things are changing in the world, in order to get the economy going, I would think it would have to be more electronic based. I'm not using the right words, but that kind of thing.
If I'm not mistaken, I heard a groan somewhere in the center of the room when you said that. What's your name?
My name's Erin Maupin. My kids are 6th generation ranchers now. I used to work for the BLM, and I don't think any of us ranchers have problems with our local BLM. In fact, I see a lot of friends and ex-coworkers and some family members in here. That's not what it's about, but I think one thing that hopefully this will make people realize is that the grazing rights we have are actually rights. They're not leases. We bought and purchased them with our ranch. The General Allotment Act of 1877, Stock Raising Homestead Act of 1916, Taylor Grazing Act of 1934 all set up that we do in fact have these rights. The Federal Land Policy and Management Act of 1976 guaranteed protection of prior rights established from these previous laws. So I believe in collaboration. I believe we can work together up until the point that our rights are being taken away. So when the government, and I'm not talking about people in this room, but when the bureaucrats in Washington, through pressure by environmental groups who use the Equal Access to Justice Act for frivolous lawsuits, when they put the pressure on the BLM and the Forest Service to cut these rights that have a dollar figure, we should at the very least be given a payment for those rights that are lost, which right now is about $175 in AUM if you were to go and purchase. And so I want people to know and talk about education. This is education that's been lost through different circumstances, and I want people to know we do have rights. It's no different than a water right. When I use my water right to irrigate my alfalfa, I don't get charged every time a drop of water hits the ground. I've already paid for those. And the fees that we pay to the Forest Service and the BLM are that. They're fees. They're administrative fees, and they're supposed to be put for to enhance our allotments. And so I want people to realize that, and I do believe we can collaborate, but we shouldn't collaborate our livelihoods and rights away, and I want to say that the refuge is a different situation.
Thank you. I'd love to hear more ideas of what you want Harney County to be in 10 years. Sir, we'll get a mic to you.
Yes, I would like to know first of all, a two-pronged question, what the economic impact of the occupation was on Harney County, and also I'd like to know, since according to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, the federal government doesn't really even have the constitutional right to own lands. According to the 10th Amendment, the BLM, the FWS, and the Forest Service should not even exist. I'd also like to know if we were to turn over the lands in Harney County to the state, the individual ranchers, or to the county, how you'd foresee the economic impact there also.
Who were those 5 questions for?
Anybody. And they were just...
Okay. Does anybody want to answer those questions? Yeah, I'm just looking for... Oh, yes, okay. Ma'am, what's your name?
Patty Hodge. Well, the economic impact in this county, well, Burns and Hines, every business in this county did really well for the month of January. We were doing July numbers in January, which has never happened before. Motels were full, the grocery stores were full, the bars were full, restaurants were full. Rite Aid, Big R, King's, everybody did well. Gas stations. There was nobody I heard in this whole county that complained about the business they had.
Our business was down 40%.
Hold on. Now you can say it again. What's your name?
Our business, Jennifer Williams, Shepherd Graphics, and our business was down 40%. We came this close to closing the doors because we're a walk-in business pretty much, and we had nobody. We went down to skeleton crews, and we all but folded.
Why do you think there was such a drop in your business?
Because nobody was going downtown, and like I said, we're just downtown. We do a lot of printing for business cards and that kind of things, but as far as just the everyday foot traffic, if it wasn't for UPS and FedEx shipments, we would have been done.
Ma'am, what's your name?
I'm Cheryl Smith, and I had a question for the BLM people and even our sheriff. You know, a lot of people felt they had to leave town, you know, and I don't know where did that, you know, who made that decision that they had to work from home, they had to leave town or any of that. But, you know, and it hurt some of the businesses. Yeah, you know, like Shepherd Graphics. I had a dream years ago to open a shop of my own here, but the economy won't support it. And I'm hoping that through education and the stuff that people are doing different now and asking the questions, the hard questions, you know, that, you know, who told them to leave?
Chad Carges from the refuge, from Fish and Wildlife Service. What was the reason?
That's part of the criminal prosecution, so I'm not allowed to talk about that, sorry.
What the unhappy murmurs in the audience, what do those mean?
I'd like to say something. The problem is there's too much government. There's too much overreach. There's too much corruption. You get the government, everybody knows the government is wasteful, and it comes all the way down to the county level. That's why there's so much interest now in the county. The Hammonds got a raw deal. They're in prison for the second time for creating a fire that the BLM has had. They have evidence that they've created fires. Why aren't they in jail? They got a raw deal. Those people are sitting in jail right now for no reason. And the Bundys and all the patriots, them too, they need to be let out of jail. Why are they being held like criminals? They are not criminals. They're trying to help create this, bring justice to this country. There is too much corruption in this country. And they're trying to educate people. And why are the people, why is the government trying to squeeze the life out of these people? Because they hit a nerve. How dare you, we the people, how dare you question the authority? Well, we the people are the authority, and we're going to take it back because this country has gone corrupt. The people in charge, they're corrupt, and it needs to be changed. And we want it changed.
How together do you all think this community is right now?
Not very.
The answer, without mics in people's mouths, maybe folks could hear on the air, is not very. Is that, but just by a show of hands, is that more or less what? How many of you feel that way? Because we've talked a lot. You've talked a lot this hour about how one of the benefits of the occupation is that tensions that were below the surface before now are coming to the fore. People are talking about them, and there's value in talking. But obviously now we're hearing more of the divisions that still exist. How divided? How many of you think that the community is very divided right now today? Only about a third of the hands are up. The rest of you, how many of you think that you're more or less together somehow? Oh, not very many. Very few hands. So then where does that leave the rest of you, the majority of people? If you're neither very divided nor very together, where are you?
We're working at it.
You're working at it.
We're working at it.
A lot of people are still
And
in shock.
And what gentleman said, a lot of you are still in shock. How many of you feel like, as a town, you're still in shock? Again, only a smattering. Well, we're going to leave this conversation here. I want to thank all of you for coming out and sharing